instance where I gathered two black artists, local black artists. I have yet to have to bend the definition of local to fit this, which is great. Two local Columbus black artists from two different artistic disciplines, and have them come together for a night where they share the stage in performance, and then I sit with them and ask them hopefully okay questions about their work. This is a quick turnaround. We were just here like 2 weeks ago or so thanks for coming right back out. The reason the turnaround is so quick was because this isn't like done on a set date, it's just whenever the artists I like are free. And this is when both Scott and Talisha Holmes are free. This month I picked Scott Woods, and I asked Scott to pick an artist to pair with, and he very quickly replied with Talisha. So this is exciting for me. I'm glad I'm getting to do this back to back. I would do this every week if I could. I wouldn't actually do this every week. I had that moment where I was like, I'll do this every week, and I remember like what hosting a weekly show is like. Yeah. It turns out I would not do this every week. I would do this maybe every month, as I do now. Those who have been here before know kind of how this goes. I'm gonna read the artist bios and then get entirely out of the way, and you're gonna see them perform, and then you're gonna see me sit with them. For those coming in, if y'all would like to grab some seats, there are a few up here. Talisha Holmes is a singer-songwriter whose sound delves deep into her roots of soul, jazz, blues, and R&B. Her first EP release was in 2011, and it exposed her as a budding songwriter and lyricist. In 2014, she released Follow, a collection of songs described as a powerfully earnest, groove-driven soul experience featuring notable international influence propelled by a powerful, insistent voice. She has her hard-hitting single, Would You Be Lost If You Found Yourself With Me, is her latest digital download, available on most online streaming and download sites. I downloaded it on Spotify earlier this week. Talisha Holmes has opened for a variety of acts, including Kelly Price, Anthony David, Stephanie Mills, and Styx. She has performed in many Columbus venues, which include the Capitol Theater, Rice Center, Brothers Drake, Scully's Music Diner, the Lincoln Theater, and countless other shows, including the Jazz and Rib Fest, the Art Festival, ComFest, Hot Times, Creekside Jazz and Blues Fest, which is a deeply underrated fest. You can find her performing regularly at the Sugar High Bakery and Cafe in Nashville, Tennessee, with her singer-songwriter set, the Talisha Holmes Duo. You're going to first hear from Talisha Holmes, and then you'll hear from Scott Woods. Please give a hand to Talisha Holmes.
Hey. So I brought some friends with me. I got Jamaica Jackson, and she just came to hang out, but she was like, oh, I know you said let me sing. So she's gonna sing some background stuff for me. I got Brandon B.J. Scott on keyboards, and I'm Talisha Holmes. And the first one we're gonna do, it's called Texas Girl. And it's called Texas Girl, it's one of my newer ones. And I wrote it on my way to Dallas, Texas, which is where my grandmother is from, and I started thinking about all these things that remind me of her. Like when I was a kid, I'd be like rifling through her drawers and playing in her perfume and watching her get dressed to go out and all that stuff. And notice a lot of those things, the way she did them in the order even, I do them now. So this song is like a tribute to her. So this next one is on the EP I released called Follow, and the song is called Follow Me. And we're going to be joined by Jamaica Jackson. And I'm going to get a drink. No, it wasn't at work. I'm sorry. Follow me and I'll go. Follow me and I'll go. Follow me and I'll go, yeah, to the land. Follow me and I'll go. Follow me and I'll go, yeah. Follow me and I'll go, yeah, to the land, yeah. Through the fire and the rain, every drop in these veins, laying tied to this chain, stay in this lane, and we'll fly. We'll race to dawn. When we can't fly, we'll run, growing stronger from the sun, side by side as one in these arms. When we reach the place, there'll be love, we will be safe. Just don't look back. Follow me and I'll go. Follow me and I'll go. Follow me and I'll go, yeah, to the land. Follow me and I'll go, yeah. Follow me and I'll go, yeah. Follow me and I'll go, yeah, to the land. Never shying from the truth, holding on to our youth, while branching out from the roots, ignoring all the pursuit, and we'll reign, yeah. This place of ours, we hold all of the power, just don't give it away. This thing that we have done has Janela just got back from vacation. She was on the beach. She doesn't know how to act now, but she got back here in the States. Let me move my water, just in case. I know, that's what happens.
It's okay. I'll get it later.
I'm sorry.
So, this one's called The Cusp of Everything. And, let's just talk about being, just the feeling of being as old as I am and still not feeling like I fit in anywhere. Like, why are we still here? But, my mind is a wreck, it drives me Samantha Jackson. And we'll do one more just for fun. Everything she wants is everything she says. I guess I must have loved you because I said you were the perfect one for me. But now we're 6 months older, and everything you want and everything you say is out of reach, not good enough, and I don't know what the hell you want from me. Well, surely you can take, you got some giving to do. Now you tell me that you're having my baby. I'll tell you that I'm happy if you want me to. One step further and my back will break. The best isn't good enough, then how can it be good enough for you? Disaster. Flavor Black Tea. Thank you, guys. Thank you for having us out.
Scott Woods is the author or editor of 2 poetry collections, Urban Contemporary History Month in 2016, and We Over Here Now in 2013, and a collection of essays of Prince and Little Weird Black Boy Gods 2017. I thought that was this year. Was that this year, Scott?
I'm sorry?
Was the Prince essays last year?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Wow. The funny thing I joke about is that since the election, it just feels like one very long month. It is the award-winning organizer of HOBBLER 31 Days of Black Art in Columbus, which I know for sure was 2017. He has been featured multiple times in national press, including multiple appearances on national public radio. He was the president of Poetry Slam Incorporated, is the co-founder of the Writer's Block Poetry Night, and has founded and curated numerous other events. In April of 2006, he became the first poet to ever complete a 24-hour solo poetry reading, a feat he bested 7 more times without repeating a single poem. His website is www.scottwoodswrites.net. That is all one word. Also, as someone who has been in the quote-unquote community for a handful of years, I personally am most interested in and motivated by the way that no 2 things Scott does are the same, though he does do, that his breadth of artistic, vision is kind of in a similar lane. No 2 things he presents the city are the same, and that's very exciting to me. Coming home, a part of the reason why Ships of the Distance is a thing is because coming home, I thought to myself, well, I can't do a weekly night again. I can't create one large, massive, full-scale project. But I was thinking of ways to contribute to Black art in the city within my limitations, which I think Scott offers all of us. Well, Black people specifically. All of us, but like some of you. Most things, like, talking about curating Black art, but you all get it. Y'all get it.
I'm so mad at her right now. Oh no, I don't know what I was thinking. How you feeling? You should be feeling as if your life has been changed. I know, I do. How apropos. So, I'm gonna do some poems.
Yeah, sure.
Because my throat's a little, so I'm not gonna sing tonight. So this piece is entitled, 3 Billboards Outside Jaquetta's Carryout, Livingston Avenue. I wanna be pull me over famous. When you pull me over and see who's driving, I want you to back away from the car. Your hands where I can clearly see them. That you are not reaching for gun. The fear of unemployment in your eyes. Regret famous. And in this moment, my name will not be Sir. You will be all Mr. Woods. You will know this without ID. I want to be no ID famous. I want to be armed with fame that cleans out your locker if I die. Rips the badge off your chest fame. Make the mayor call fame. Your union throwing its hands in the air instead of me fame. No training in the world will make you do this job right, so go ahead. Call for backup. More audience, more fame. I love an audience. I'm ready for a close-up. Rub my murder all over your body cam. Bullets gonna bounce off this obituary. I want to turn your Klan rally into a cult of personality. I want to be white boy rude famous. I don't need to be bulletproof. I just need you more scared of sitting at home than of me. Want you to consider the ankle bracelet that is powerlessness, looking into the barrel of your backup every night, wondering why you didn't just tase a bro. I need you more scared of the way your children will see you after the fact. because your children love my poems. Need you more scared of what the neighbors will think than of my skin, my tone, my hair, my life. More scared of the silence that comes from having to drive like normal people do. No sirens, no radio crackle, no spotlight, no protect and serve tattoo on the wheel hub. Need you more scared of a cookout conversation, standing next to the grill while your neighbor, wielding an undercooked hamburger and a pair of tongs, your plate filled with Nutella and raisin mac and cheese, asks you what it was like to kill someone as famous as me. I want you to walk to me. I want you to walk me to them old gallows. And then, when you ring the bell and the whole town comes running, they line up for my autograph instead of a lynching. And you're left standing there thinking, I can't believe I opened up his jail cell for this. And I go home. And you go home. And tomorrow I go to work. And you stay home. And we can pass each other in the mall someday. Me, crowd surfing a throng of adoring city officials and soccer moms. You, standing in line so your kid can get a picture with me. That one guy you pulled over that one time and lost your job over. Your ears still ringing, mine still beaming. Your gun so silent, its barrel mouth hanging open, completely and utterly awestruck. This one's entitled Adam's, this is a love poem. Adam's Ribs and Chicken and Biscuits. I have loved barbecue like I have loved you. Stoked in the mesquite fire of a black-bellied stove, flamed with attention. Fought with drunken men over the best parts, swallowed hard. Set to watering a mouth full of summer gunshot, slathered it with secrets and longing. Whispered cursing prayers into the heat to make it last just 1 minute longer in the wavering fade of August. And now you are thinking, he just compared me to a meal. Which is not what I have done at all. I have compared my gods to you, given you back that stolen rib and made a meal of it. Look at me. This is no trifling game. I worship at my altars daily, and my gods have tried to kill me twice this year. Once by driving my blood into frenzy, salting my veins, doctors everywhere bowing their heads. And then another time, while I was driving, my car filled with the hymn that only a bag of pulled pork knows the lyrics to, plastic clinging to the sweat of its styrofoam jar by the burn of tire screech as I peel myself out of a seatbelt, engine gone, windows eggshelled all over me, while I lick the evidence of my complicity from my fingers, smacking lips of love and sauce in my palms. Is it a crime usually reserved for driving while writing poems? But then I am an acolyte of many pantheons, wholly ghosting out of me all of the ways to love you. This next one is actually part of a much, much longer poem. But because of where we here on the south side. I work across the street at that library, for what it's worth. And so I've seen the neighborhood change a lot over the years. But at some point, not too long ago, just about 3 years ago, in fact, they were shooting a movie here in the city. I Am Rad. It was a John Travolta film. You probably never seen the film. Nobody saw the film. But you probably remember in the news, like for about, I don't know, a week, 2 weeks, whatever, they were always like, and tonight, the movie is in the city, you know. So I wrote, the poem overall is kind of about the city and what's happening in the city. But this part of it is dedicated to this part of it. I Am Wrath is a 2016 American action thriller film directed by Chuck Russell, starring John Travolta. Photography began on March 9th, 2015 in Columbus, Ohio. The film opens with a montage of videos depicting gang violence and shootouts with police. According to the harried news reporters, this has become an everyday occurrence in Columbus, Ohio. I have never seen any of this footage. And after a few minutes of straight carnage, I realized they have imported violence to a city that does it just fine because it's sexy. I Am Wrath is a 2016 American action thriller film starring John Travolta. In it, John Travolta plays a man who, based on the architecture of his home, we presume lives in short Northeastern, whose daily body count is higher than the vaulted ceilings of his overly quaint home. When his wife is killed in a robbery gone awry and the killer is cut loose, John Travolta crawls through the seedy underbelly of Columbus, Ohio to exact revenge. Thus the title, I Am Wrath, not I Am Widower or I Am Extremely Sad. He has a friend who is also conveniently special forces trained, who happens to run black ops out of the basement of his barbershop. My barbershop is also a black ops operation. But I don't think Rashid knows where to hide a body. He doesn't even sell bootleg DVDs anymore, so even if he did know where to hide a body, I don't know how invested he would be in convincing me it was a good idea. I think, at best, Rashid would let me cut ahead in line on a full Saturday morning, not even ask what I needed, and just once turn down the tip. Perhaps the strike team that burst into my job the other day was an elite squad of widowers seeking to stem the rising tide of international criminal masterminds East Columbus is known for housing. I Am Wrath is a 2016 American action thriller film starring John Travolta that thinks I am stupid. If you are Wrath, what does that make the man watching the filming from across the street with a coat for a home and bed bugs for children, shaking his head as John Travolta shoots blanks at scale-wage villains in Old Town East? Is he sloth? Is he envy? Is he a homeless sin trapped in a man's body? This is not the first time this has happened to John Travolta, where he has had to pay for another man's sin while just trying to make a dishonest living. If you are Wrath, I must be Pride, debating once more and to no avail the sharp and iron teeth of progress. The sheer audacity of a black boy caught in white houses and no feather duster in his hand. If you are Wrath, I must be Gluttony. My chair ordered to your buffet of shovel-ready green space and bike paths. All your representatives are mute steel. And when they speak, whole cities kneel in worship at your knows what's best gospel. All my representatives are mute as well. Targets flapping in the winds of change, waiting for the bullets and construction cones to fill its holes. Somehow the violence we have already in neighborhoods we cannot protect is not Hollywood enough. Tyree King could not get an audition at his own funeral. Henry Green is a little too method. And here I thought John Travolta was just shooting a low-budget American action thriller here on the cheap. I had no idea it was a love letter, but then its lips were not aiming for my mouth. This one is new. But I am not stronger than pride. When your lover falls for an accountant, you almost understand. When they run into the arms of a musician, knowing it is doomed to fail isn't much of a balm. When they run to a DJ, you know it absolutely cannot last. But now, all of the music in your crates sours on the vines in your ears, and silence is your friend, and jazz is the cacophony you were always warned about, and not one rap song gets to ride in the front seat of this car right now. And who cares if the light is red and I'm not moving until I find the song I was looking for. And no matter what she said, and no matter how you deal, Sade is forever. I listened to Sade to fall in love again while crying in a front seat shaped nightclub where there is no cover. And I know how to dance. Therapy spaceship heading in the direction of any place I know she cannot be. I listened to Sade to fall in love again so that I could not feel the real thing. Cliff diving into myself when a rib and Netflix will not do. Until the songs become clinical and theory again. 15-inch woofers tell me how to live my life now. Angels on both shoulders. Listen to their hymns until my chest is numb like a heart attack I have let loose and pump faked. Listen until my lips are numb from mumbling her name, until my mind is rubbed smooth from English-kissed Sam Cooke records, from when I didn't even know what she was singing about. From a simmering distance in the same room you cannot traverse. From a 1920 saxophone that shouldn't be here. Not on this radio, not bobbing this head, not mending this breath. From running away from running. From all the exotic things you have put into your head that don't even begin to compare to the boring reality that she has come to love and was all she ever wanted. Sade hasn't spoken to me in 7 years, and she's still the best ex-girlfriend I ever had. You were right to never pretend, to never stop living, to never forgive, to try hate but still find love in all of this, to decide the sun has risen, that winter has come, to forecast snow in the middle of an Ohio summer like this. I listen to Sade because the woman who isn't Sade doesn't understand Sade. And Sade understands me. And all I was ever looking for was the person who understood me the most, which is to say, all I have ever been looking for is sweet as taboo. This whole time, I have been talking about music, my tears, and some DJ I want to hate, and a lover I want to hate and love at the same time, who knows my spots like a well-thumbed record collection, who installs amnesia into me when we kiss, who is going to make me sit through this red light for a third time. I have never been talking about my heart. What heart? I have never been talking about my faults. What faults? I have only been talking about how Sade keeps my foot on the brake pedal, how she makes me roll down the windows in the rain for show, not to hide my tears, but because I am her favorite DJ, and all I ever spin is her, because all I ever am is at a red light, trying to keep a brake pedal as depressed as I am. And the whole time Sade has been singing about a man who was too tall and thin and obviously European to be me, carrying all of the blue hearts in the world into a cheap jazz club that should charge for therapy like this, singing under a red light that goes green sometimes when she thinks of me. So I just have one more. Thank you, Hanif. I just have one more. This piece is entitled Bill Cosby brought me into this world, but I have taken him out. Bill Cosby taught me, lying on the floor of a living room in front of a stereo built like a sarcophagus, that my mother had a laugh reserved for non-saint situations, and I have been chasing it ever since. When I failed college, I let down my mother and Bill Cosby in that order. Bill Cosby taught me what football was, showed me why whoopings were not the end of a conversation, but the beginning of a relationship whose love you will not fathom and I cannot explain. Bill Cosby taught me to love myself the way white people love me, as subject matter, the way they love jazz, imperialistically, the way they love Mammy cookie jars, devoutly. So I love myself like Mammy cookie jars, stuff myself with a sweetness smile, never let on that I have smeared every one of these cookies with this servant tongue. And Bill Cosby has taught me to be a better slave. Pick the whole cotton field with all your teeth. Bill Cosby is the greatest actor of our generation. Bill Cosby is dead to me, so soon to when it was going to happen anyway, that I can't even get it up to grieve. The Bill Cosby I see now is a zombie, is not the teacher I have known, but the realest monster I have ever let into my home. Bill Cosby showed me junkyard genius, how a bed spring could become a harp if you touch it just so, how a radiator could be an accordion, a swollen belly drummed like a timpani, how the anything of nothing could be everything to anyone. Bill Cosby taught me the funkiest scat ever uttered. A hickey burr turned to gibberish in my mind as if I had been clouded while guilty of nothing more than thirst. Where there is smoke, there is fire. Where there is a forest fire, there is a teacup. I would cast every album onto the flame if you could give me back my Fat Albert Saturdays. Bill Cosby taught me how to tell this story. Drop a little of this. Take on a little of that. Be a little drunk off of yourself. Somewhere, Bill Cosby is buying NBC to make a television show about all the women he must adore. A show whose pitch is that he has a different wife each week with the same name. He wants me to believe he loves her for her mind, and it's a hit. Bill Cosby has done it again. Bill Cosby has recaptured Thursday nights, made it a holiday again, Football Sunday special. And as we celebrate the golden touch of America's favorite dad, he pours me coffee. My mind is telling me no. And my body is also saying, I'd rather not, sir. Bill Cosby is dead to me. And I have spun every groove of every record for any truth. found him wanting, found myself letting go, found myself wishing my mother and I had just talked for once, instead of listening to a record of someone who could never know, pretending it was a better teachable moment than love. My mother and I have said nothing about Bill Cosby since all of his jokes have died. It's as if she's gotten divorced all over again. Another plate disappearing from the table. I think I am a good son for saying nothing. But Bill Cosby taught me that too. Bill Cosby taught me that silence is innocence. That if no one can say a thing, then it didn't happen. Bill Cosby taught me that where there is smoke, there is a woman running into the street for a cab who does not know her name anymore and who wishes more than anything to be thirsty again.
Talisha, did you leave again? We're gonna talk now. I'm gonna put the chairs back so like everyone can sit down if they choose. Is that the third chair? It is.
Yeah, I can move on.
You don't really have to. Give another hand for Talisha and Scott. So, the past handful of times, actually I don't think I've done this. I've only done one of these without a musician. And my desire is naturally to talk about music entirely, which I know I can do with the two of you. But I want to talk about craft and all that other stuff. Most importantly, the question I ask all the artists who I reach out to is why they chose their counterpart. So Scott, why did you choose Talisha?
So, in my mind, there was no option, all right? I've known Talisha for many years, and I don't even remember how I met Talisha.
I do.
She's just always been in my life as near as I can recall. And she's always been amazing. And Columbus is a lot of amazing artists, but Talisha has always been like genius level. And for me, this year, all the stuff that I kind of wanted to do, especially if it involved me specifically, the events that I put on, all that, I really just wanted to start digging into genius level stuff, stuff that can compete on the world stage. And so I was like, there's a couple of cats, obviously that are around that you could have picked, but I was like, me and Talisha just have not shared a stage like that. And so that was just kind of a gimme to me. Like in a year when you saying I'm strive for genius, then you just start at the top of the list. And anytime she's in town, she's the best singer in town. That's it. And I love singers, don't get me wrong. There's people in here I love to sing. Y'all know what's up.
Tell me how y'all met, since you remember.
I remember.
So, snaps and turns.
Really?
Yeah. Well, see, you didn't meet me. I met you. So, I came to the poetry nights and, I didn't really participate much, but then you came to Capital University and did like a lecture, kind of a thing, and I attended, and then I was like, hey, you don't know me, but I know you. And from there, yeah, that's how you met me.
Yeah, I remember the lecture.
I feel like there is a certain era of people in the city for whom snaps and taps is like an origin point. Talisha, I was excited. For most of these so far, I've been either immensely familiar with one artist and only vaguely, not vaguely, but like lightly familiar with the other, or like, you know, excitedly too familiar with each artist. In your case, I got to spend some time this week with your writing and your work. I say your writing, so I asked you a question already. Lyrically, I was really impressed by your kind of turns of phrase and your like metaphorical breath. And I'm wondering what you go to when you sit down to write songs. Is that a bad first question?
No, it's a heavy first question, so it's a good question. So when I first started writing, it was just really just to preserve my sanity. My assignment for myself was just to write down things as they were. And no matter how ugly it was, or disgusting, or harsh to look at, or whatever, I was gonna write it down anyway. And I was gonna look at it. And I was gonna say it out loud. And from that, I was able to be like extremely honest and authentic with the things that came out of me. And, you know, being really into music from like family and like my first record was Stevie Wonder, and I think at the time, like my second album that I was really into was like around the time like New Jersey Drive was out and everybody was getting the soundtrack to that or whatever, and I was like going to the record store like looking for Stevie Wonder stuff or whatever, because that's what spoke to me. And the way he would turn a phrase and the way he would put things together really spoke to me. And so that was kind of like a really heavy inspiration for me. And, you know, learning from those kinds of masters and putting my own authentic spin on it, that's where all that came from.
Scott, I mentioned this outside. Well, I guess I should ask first. I mean, I think one thing that's been kind of true of you since for as long as I've known you, and something that like I share in, and I think a lot of people share in, is a distaste for people who talk about how boring the city is. Right? Or at least a desire to immediately refute that or work against that. Where do you see, well, I mean, I guess for those unfamiliar, if you talk about streetlight Gildaism, it's where do you see it going in the next, let's say, 3 years?
So the last couple of years, I put on enough shows and worked with enough artists and whatnot that you could really tell that something was changing in terms of what the city had to offer in terms of art. Columbus doesn't have a defined culture. Most people just say it doesn't have any culture, which is technically textbook not true. It's just not clearly defined. Maybe it's not very good, I don't know. But, you know, in the last couple of years, I just, because of the things that I was doing, I've become so, you know, I've become hyper aware of all the artists who were kind of doing their thing. There's still a ton of artists I don't know. And to me, that math, you know, having put on 150 to 200 artists on some stage in the last year and a half, and still not knowing so many more good artists yet. For me, that math says anybody who has anything like that to say about Columbus is utterly wrong. So I believe in that so much, I've created an organization that is dedicated to showcasing that culture, if not showcasing the culture, creating that culture. Out of the art that's here, out of the community that is here, in our somewhat interesting, if not wholly unique, political situation as a city, right? And so, got a building on Main Street that's getting rehabbed right now. It's officially a nonprofit. I've already done a slew of events so far this year. I'm only taking a break now to get the building together because moving forward, hopefully in 3 years, that space will be open, 5 nights a week, just dumping art and culture onto the city. That's the goal.
I want to talk about genre or the kind of flimsiness of genre, right? Because both of you are really have your feet in a lot of different things. You kind of sonically, right? I was excited to listen to your music because I couldn't, from song to song, pin down a sound. Is that bad? Is that a bad?
No, that's great. No, that's great.
But I mean, I think you self-identify as someone who like has a foot in like pop and rock and gospel and soul. And this is like a broad question, but I'm wondering both where and how that began, and what feeds you from each genre you work in.
Okay. My dad, I remember, was not a very famous one, but he would DJ like parties and stuff. So he had like all these like crates and crates and crates of like records and things like that all around the house. And my mom was just always just kind of a eclectic, kind of an oddball kind of person. And so she was like John Denver and Cyndi Lauper and Patti LaBelle and just kind of really Bob Marley and just a whole bunch of random stuff where she would just flip from track to track, from record to record, and it was like, I didn't even realize that there was like a distinction of genres until somebody would say, that is country music, why are you listening to that? Or that is, rock music, why are you listening to that? And I'd be like, oh really? And then you start to, figure out where you're supposed to be and where you're not supposed to be. And, being in like middle school where everything is so, so many boxes you have to fit into just to, not get made fun of. So like I said, I'd be like sneaking with my headphones, listening to stuff that I wasn't supposed to be listening to and, enjoying it. I was in orchestra, I played viola, since I was a kid. I played bass guitar in the jazz band, so I like was listening to that, that kind of stuff. And I was in choir, and I was at home listening to John Denver, and at my grandmother's house listening to blues and raunchy kind of stuff that I shouldn't have been listening to. And just all over the place. My family's are from the mountains. We're listening to stuff with bluegrass with dulcimers. I play the dulcimer now. Like it's just all. I was classically trained, so I was listening to Berlioz and Strauss and singing Verdi Requiem with choir and stuff like that. So I mean, it was really sonically all over the place, but I felt so fed by all of it. I mean, it was just exciting, and I didn't want to do anything else. I didn't want to be anywhere else except in this world of all these different types of music just washing over me constantly 24 hours a day. And that's what I do now. So there was no way to get away from it. It's not like I chose it. It chose me. I just need to be around the music, no matter what it is. It's great. I love it.
I think it's interesting to like define genre by what people tell you is not yours. That's fascinating. This is like also generic, what's your listening routine like now? Like I don't know, I feel like it's less interesting to ask, I think it's less common, people ask writers what they're reading all the time. Mm-hmm. People rarely ask musicians like what they're listening to, or like what their listening practice is like. Do you have a listening practice and what do you listen to?
I do, that's great. That's such a great question.
I do have a listening practice. I give myself listening assignments, things I'm constantly overwhelmed by the amount of things I do not know. So if somebody mentions something to me, or I hear a track or a song by somebody I don't know much about, I'm like, what about the rest of their catalog? So I will start from the beginning. Like if I have like a day where I'm not bound by like reading or doing something like that, I'll do everything I have to do and I'm listening to somebody's catalog. Record by record, that's how I prefer to do it. It's cool to like jump around and listen to playlists and things like that. but like records, like the whole record from top to bottom, the interplay, the transitions, all of it. Looking at the album cover, like, it's incredible. So I try to do as much album listening as I can, but I can't say there's a certain type of genre that I listen to day to day. I was just like, whatever is on the menu, whatever pops into my head or whatever. Like sometimes I have a schedule. Like on Tuesday, I'm doing, as much, I don't know, Willie Nelson as I can fit into the day, which is, there's a lot of Willie Nelson to listen to. Yeah, exactly. But, and then from there I'll be like, yeah, he's doing a duet with, somebody, let me check them out. And I try not to stray too far off the path, but I might take a few seconds to listen to an album by, whoever. And, it can be overwhelming, but it's fun too. So.
Scott, what I like about your writing is that it's kind of, because you don't have an MFA, you don't have like a writing degree, but you've kind of found your way to, your writing has always found its way to other genres kind of naturally, right? There's like a progression in my head between the work you were doing when I first started hearing your poems to some of the longer form nonfiction you're able to write, and I see the kind of swelling narratives in those that make the fact that you can write fiction or horror kind of like that genre very obvious. What's it been like to kind of, I don't know if you would define that this happens in your work, but what has it been like to kind of use genre to find genre?
Well, okay, so that's a great question, but it's very difficult for me to answer because I have always done all that kind of writing. Actually, I've had to cut some things out so I can focus on the things that you can see and get better at those. So no more screenplays, no more this, no more that. But I've always done that. Mostly because to me, an idea, like ideas don't come to me in form, right? So they come to me and then I decide where it's gonna go. This is a poem, this is a story, this is an essay, da 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 da. But, I don't wanna do disservice to your question. There's obviously been growth and expansion in certain areas. But that's mostly, as you mentioned, I'm largely self-made. I'm all self-made. So that's just me reading like as many books in that building across the street as possible, and then applying all of that as frequently as possible. Trying not to get stuck in what I do well, right? You kind of see that in how I do a lot of things. Once I kind of hit that thing, I just move on. I don't keep hitting that note over and over just because I got that note, Probably to some disservice professionally, but as an artist, it satisfies.
I already know you have a reading practice. Do you have a listening practice? That's any, or has it become less prominent in the past few years?
No.
What's your listening practice like?
Yeah. No, the only thing that's really changed about my listening practice is that as music gets progressively worse, I dig progressively deeply. So, like, the only reason I turn on iTunes is to play music. I don't shop for music on here. Like, I go on Bandcamp and I'm like, okay, who do I not know? And I just start there and that's the day. So yeah, no, I don't really have a set type of thing. I just always have to have music going. And, but usually sometimes I'll kind of this will happen fairly frequently, where I'll get stuck on a thing until I crack it. That could mean anything. Like I get stuck on an artist or a song or an album until I crack it. But crack it doesn't mean figure out how to play it because I'm not a musician anymore. It means emotionally or intellectually, or how might I apply this music or this tone or this feeling to my life or my work. Once I figure that out, then I can kind of move on to the next thing. So if I get stuck on something, that'll be like that for like 2-3 days. And that's all you'll hear in my car, that's all you'll hear in my house for about 2-3 days. until I crack it, and then I can go back to the broader collection.
I got 2 more questions for each of you. Maybe I'll do an audience question or two. The past few times I've done audience questions, like I think like a couple times ago, we got one of those like, this is more of a comment than a question. And I was like, well, let's end that. No more audience questions. So maybe I'll just like talk to them after. They can like glaze over while you give them your comment. That is not a question. You're based in Nashville right now?
I am.
When did you go to Nashville? When did you leave?
I've been there about 2.5 years now, a little over 2.5, not quite 3.
So I'm interested because you're so multi-dimensional and multi-skilled in how Nashville has kind of like pushed you artistically. Sorry about the fly.
I know.
What's happened? I have gone through a great mini life transition since I left here. And in order to make sense of those changes and to organize them in my brain and to vent, I've been writing like crazy. I've written so much stuff. It is like, I mean, it's to the point where I'm like, okay, let me just get this thought down and put it over here. I'll get back to it. Hold on, let me get this right here. I got these other things going on. Let me get this down. Well, hold on, here's something else right here. Oh my God, I'm going crazy. Let me write that down. And I mean, it's like stacking up, and it's almost overwhelming because it needs to be treated like I use like I'm not a keyboardist, but I use like the keyboard and like computer software to like get down like the ideas, lay tracks and things like that, and then I like record like a crap ton of vocals and put the lyrics together and try to put it in some kind of order and sense so that I can give it to a musician like B-Jazz and Jamela so they can learn it and we can record it or we can do it live or whatever. But Nashville has made me more of a writer, and if not just because my life might be a dumpster fire, but that has been my inspiration.
What's next for you?
Well, getting these songs treated up and put together. I am recording this year. I'm saying that to you right here, right now. I am recording this year. Because, like I said, it is just backlogged. It's got to be recorded. It's got to be out there. That's all I can do.
I want to talk to you about Slam only because I thought about Slam on the way here.
If you must.
Yes. I had to. I was like at a, mostly this is projecting because I taught at a writer's retreat all weekend and was asked a lot of questions about Slam and found a lot of them very odd. The question like, how do you write a Slam poem kind of thing? You know? It's like, well, I've started to give up answers that make no sense. You gotta call to the top of the mountain and the poem writes you. But I think you have an interesting relationship with Slam. I'm not gonna ask you some archaic shit about Slam, but you have an interesting relationship with it because I think you've begun to like shift the modes of how it's consumed in the city with Meat Grinder particularly, or perhaps only with Meat Grinder. But I'm interested in how you feel that space. And occasionally you have one at writer's blocks though, right? Very rarely.
Almost never.
Yeah, one like recently though.
Yeah, but that's been like years before that.
I guess that's true.
Yeah.
How do you still find some value in the space? Or what ways do you still find some value in the space?
In Slam?
In Slam, yeah. In plug Meat Grinder, of course.
Okay. Okay, so this was an easier question before some existing slammers walked into the room. People who are currently slamming hard, and who are very good. But they're here, so they already know what I'm about, so here we go. My relationship with Slam is complicated these days. Like, I love slam as a tool, right? I love the competition aspect, all of that as a tool. I love it. I love great tools. I like hammers, they work. But, oh man, Hanif just walked me up to the pasture and was like, here is a landmine. All right, so no, but in all seriousness, I love slam. I think that there's, the thing that I always got out of slam was that it should challenge me, right? I'm not really competing against other poets, per se. You know, I'm trying to become the best Scott in that moment, in that room, with whatever poem I'm gonna use. And I learned so much from that process every time I did it. Even when I was doing really well, and particularly when I was not doing well. I always learned it. And my frustration with slam does not come from some antagonistic relationship or competition. It comes from other poets. It comes from other poets who do not get the point, right? Who refuse to grow in it, to use it as a tool, you know, who use it as a means to some other end. That always frustrated me. It frustrates me even more now. And so now I just don't think about it. The one thing that you mentioned that I do, Louise Robertson and I started a slam. We were just kind of kicking it around like, yo, we're not sending teams to the national competition anymore. You know, we already probably, I think at that point we were still maybe sending an individual. I don't know, I think maybe not, to individual competitions. We had probably stopped doing it as a show. And we were just like, yo, I just want to slam, and I just want to be free, and I just want to see people challenge themselves. And so we created this slam, this competition. It's just like a regular slam, except it's completely not a regular slam. We removed all the rules, except for the 3-minute timer.
You don't want to remember that one.
Yeah. And so we got to hold on to that.
Hold on to that, nothing else.
Yeah, you don't want poets on stage in 10 minutes of one poem. You don't want that. So, unless it's me. But then, so you know, so now we have a situation where we have an event that at this point is regional in size, which is another thing that's awesome about it. But that allows poets to really, I mean, and the thing is that when you see somebody on stage literally tattooing themselves, or grilling a grilled cheese sandwich on a hot plate, or making meatloaf, or stripping down to their underwear to do a poem, or any of the other variety of things that we've seen at these events, they're not spectacle. We still hold up the poem as important. It still has to serve the poem. I don't know how we've instilled that value, but we've managed to, right? And it's interesting to see people come to those events who are used to regular slam, traditional slam, and they come and they think, I'm gonna do this, my poem, my thing, and it's just like, I know, we're not gonna feel you like that. We are here to see it elevate. So if it were up to me, all slams would be like that. That's how slam was when it started, right? The minute that the rules were longer than one page, slam had failed. So that's what I get out of it. I still get that challenge. Like you mentioned, we recently did a slam. It was very traditional. I did not enjoy it. Right? I was just like miserable the whole time. And it was just like, all right, I just want to be surprised with art. This is in general, with art. If I go to an art exhibit, I want to be surprised. Music, I want to be surprised. I never know what Talisha's going to do. I love that about Talisha. We were going to do a duet, and I just couldn't get it together. So, she's amazing. Whatever I do with her has to be amazing. And I gave her something that was good, but not amazing. So I scrapped it. So I just want to always be giving that hunger out. That's what I put it.
Sorry to ask that question.
No, that's
but I was thinking about this.
That's a long question.
No, I was like, man, I haven't actively participated in Slam in I don't know how long, 2015, maybe 20.
Good for
and
you.
I haven't.
Good for you.
And I haven't had the desire to, but I still think.
You should come to the meat grinder.
Well, I'm gonna be there. I don't know if I'm participating, but I'll be there. I'm excited to see it for the first time. When is it again?
When is it?
July 14th.
July 14th.
I will be there. So, what is next for you?
So right now, Streetlight Guild is my top priority, right? Like I've gone part-time on my job to focus on that. Getting the building together, creating a schedule for the rest of the year, getting all that together. And finishing the second draft as well. Like I said, officially.
Where, I guess a better question, real quick, where can people support you in any way?
My website, I just put some new music on there to be downloaded, and like I said, it's gonna be more on there soon, and just visit my website and find out how to find me and find my music.
ScottWoodsWrites.net. That's a good place to start. I'm everywhere.
All right, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Next month, we'll have, on the 10th, we'll have Rachel Wiley and Counterfeit Madison. Please give a hand to Talisha Holmes and Scott Woods. Thank you for coming out. This has been a lot of fun. Thanks to $2 Radio for letting us do this every month. This has been a dream come true for me. I'm glad I can see up here. Thank you.